G'day there guys, just a reminder to drink water because you need it to be hydrated and it's better than soft drink. It's your main man Markee and welcome back to another episode of r/AmITheA. Now if you love today's bloody good content, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn on the barbie and enjoy today's bloody good content. Let's go! Posted by user Throw592639. Titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my girlfriend I don't have time for chores? So, I, male 36, was in the army for several years. After I got out, I started community college to become an engineer. I'm currently working part-time at a job that requires physical work, and when I come home at noon, I do 2 classes until 4ish. They both meet every day for an hour and are pre-recorded videos since I can't attend classes during the day. It usually takes me longer to get through each video since I also take notes. Afterwards, I mainly do my homework because we have a ton of homework. I'm always exhausted at the end of the day because of my job and the fact that I go to school. Here's the thing. Engineering classes are hard. Like, really hard. Calculus and crap. I don't have time to cook and clean around the apartment. My girlfriend, on the other hand, works from home. She's a full-time PhD student, works part-time as a research assistant, and is working full-time, but she does all of this from home. She has time on her hands, yet she keeps insisting on me helping her cook and clean around our apartment. I tell her I don't have time, and that I don't care for her to cook for me all the time. Just focus on herself. I can find my own food. But now she's upset because she feels like she puts in all the effort into this relationship and apartment to make it home for us. We both moved to this city when I was still in the army and don't live close to family members. Am I the a-hole for telling her I don't have time for chores? I feel like her workload isn't as exhausting as mine, and it's only fair that I focus more on my classes since I feel like I'm behind because of my age. Meanwhile, she's already well into her career, but is getting the PhD when she already has a good enough paying job. So, am I the a-hole? So, you're saying she's working part-time as a research assistant and working full-time, but also doing a PhD full-time from home? Does that not sound like an incredibly stressful and full workload that she has on her hands? Just because you don't care about her cooking for you all the time doesn't mean you don't put an effort in anyway and eat the meals she's willing to make for you. Conversely, you should be stepping up and cleaning the house and making meals for her and yourself too. Is that not a normal thing to expect from a partner in a relationship? I feel like you're finding excuses not to do these things when she obviously does so much more work than you. You have such a defeatist mentality, it's genuinely sad to see you typing all of this out. Go reevaluate your priorities in this life before you say something or do something further that's going to severely impact your relationship. Something has to change, or something is going to change depending on what you do. With your current attitude and actions though, I would say for sure you're the a-hole here. Now in the comments, Leatherhog says, "You're the a-hole. Get over yourself. How did you survive in the military with this whiny, I have it the worst attitude? She's getting her PhD, works both full and part-time, but you have a part-time job and community college classes and can't be bothered to be an adult? You're not even doing close to what she does. You're the a-hole. I dated you in my 20s. He started law school and suddenly it was impossible for him to do so much as pick up milk from the grocery store, let alone clean a damn thing. It doesn't have to be clean, he'd say, illustrating in yet another way that he did not care about me, my mental or physical health, or my happiness. I broke up with him, but it took longer than it should have for me to realize that being a supportive partner didn't mean I had to put up with a completely unsupportive one. Break up with this poor woman. It's truly the kindest thing you can do. Then you can be tired alone in a hovel of your own making as you seem to want. How in the world is her workload not as exhausting as yours? Even if you come to an agreement on food, during really busy times, sometimes you just gotta eat takeout, you have to pull your own weight as a human being and at least clean and do the other chores around the house. You're the a-hole. I don't think he realizes how much work goes into keeping a household running. He was probably at his parents' house before he served, and he has never had the realization of, if I want food, I need to plan out what I need and buy it. Or that the floor gets real gross real fast and needs to be vacuumed. To him, houses stay clean and food just appears in the fridge. Our next post is by user DE1Dre, titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my girlfriend to grow up? So me, 23 male, and my girlfriend, 27 female, have been together for about 5 years. 4, but literally a week from 5. And 3 years into the relationship, we had a child. For context, he wasn't a planned child by any means, as we had taken birth control measures. Early on, I wore protection, and then she started taking birth control. Neither of us know how the child happened, but we accepted that it happened and moved on. I finished up the last bit of college I had, and found a job before the baby arrived. She stopped working, as my income was now enough, and now stays home with the baby, as we discussed that that was what would be best. In the following years since the birth of my son, my girlfriend has grown increasingly more intolerant. At first, she was elated, wanted to show him off, and was happy to deal with everything. Then it grew to her being annoyed by small things. She wanted me to change every diaper. We split them once I'm home and during off days, and was annoyed by everything our son did. Flash forward to now, and contrary to the saying, terrible twos, he tends to be very well balanced. He doesn't cry that much, he adapted to potty training quickly and well, and he doesn't really fuss. My girlfriend has been going out a lot. I don't have a problem with it because everyone needs time to have fun and relax. This night was a night she went out. A few nights ago, my son came to my side of the bed. He woke me up and told me that he had peed in his sleep. I told him it was okay. I woke up my girlfriend and told her, and asked her to clean him up quickly while I went and cleaned it. She took a minute to wake up, so I went ahead and left to go clean it up. In the middle of it, I heard her screaming at our son. I go in there and ask her why she's screaming at him, and she responds it's because he peed the bed. I told her he's 2 and that accidents happen. This shouldn't be a moment to scold him and scream. She said that since I could be better, I should do it. So I helped him get cleaned up and then cleaned up in his room, and by that time, he fell asleep on the couch. I covered him up and went back to my room. When I got back is when the argument started. I told her that I shouldn't have to handle that alone because she can't control her anger. She told me that since I was such a good parent, I should quit my job and stay at home, and she should go to work, since she's so horrible. She went on with this for about 5 minutes before telling me she regrets having our son. A little shocked, I told her she didn't have a way of finding a job capable of supporting us, and that she proposed the idea of staying home when he was born. I told her she needed to grow up because the way she was acting will be something he remembers. Ever since, we've barely spoke, and now I'm wondering if I took it too far. You say this in a way that there would have been multiple points during this night where you could have just let it go and not made an issue of it. You arguing with her over this isn't immature. It's honestly the right thing to do in this situation, but I don't really think this is a question of, am I the a-hole for telling my girlfriend to grow up? No, you're not necessarily the a-hole for saying that to her because these things happen. On the same note, yes, what she did display a-hole behavior, but does her behavior not strike you as very much out of character? I would caution that these are warning signs of more to come, and I would get her the help she desperately needs sooner than later. Yes, for sure, her words and actions will affect your 2-year-old child. Perhaps we could judge you as an a-hole in this situation for not realizing the attitude shift and enabling trauma to be inflicted on your child through her because you haven't stepped in sooner. I don't think that's fair though. I don't think that's realistic either, and I don't believe that. So my vote is no a-holes here, and please go and get her some help. Now in the comments, Redditor191389 says, I think rather than posting on Reddit about this one argument, You need to see the bigger picture. Your girlfriend is struggling and clearly is not coping well as a stay-at-home mum. You two need to figure this out. Perhaps she needs some therapy to work through her anger towards her son. Could well be postpartum depression. Perhaps you two need to find a way for her to return to work. This is much bigger than one late-night argument, and it needs resolving ASAP. All of this, I immediately thought of PPD. This woman is struggling and needs help ASAP. Not just her, the kid needs help too. If this is what she does with the dad around, imagine how she's acting when home alone with him. I just want to say, terrible twos doesn't mean they're necessarily crying constantly and the like. It means they get into everything and are forming boundaries that they're constantly testing. You can have a wonderful, quiet, well-behaved 2-year-old that's super inquisitive, and the questions eventually drive you nuts, for example. Terrible twos, when they're finally smart enough to ask unending questions, mobile enough to get into places and things they shouldn't, but not enough experience to have self-preservation. It's a tough line because inquisitive is good. You want your kid to be smart and learn about the world, but also 5 seconds of peace and quiet, please. Everyone sucks here. Your reply was useless and incendiary. Her screaming at a toddler is useless and abusive. You'll need some therapy and some daycare to start. Women are deeply shamed for not adoring being around a screaming, vomiting, crapping, helpless human all day. It's exhausting. I truly believe she needs a break. Daycare should help, a job might too, maybe school. Society expects women's lives to revolve around their children, but society's expectations are ridiculous, ancient, useless bullcrap. So less flippant with your responses because you're adding to the problem. Her, no more yelling at a baby, damn it. Both of you get into therapy, kid into daycare, and best wishes to you all. How could you possibly call this everyone sucks here? His response was appropriate, and judging from OP's own account, he's been doing his fair share of work at home and has been doing his best to support the spouse as well. How can you think telling a partner off for verbally abusing and neglecting to take care of their kid is wrong? How is that useless and incendiary? I agree that OP's spouse is struggling and that they need to discuss the current domestic situation, but you cannot possibly call OP an a-hole for sticking up for their kid. Our next post is by user, Am I the a-hole for this woke? Titled, Am I the a-hole for using all of my improvements and comfort budget to upgrade my office, even though the company is letting people go? I guess the reason I'm asking is, I was basically called a bear by one of our former employees, who I happened to see at dinner last night, and I don't want to be a totally out of touch a-hole. So I work for my family's construction company after getting my MBA last year. My great-grandpa started the company in 1960, and me and my second cousin are slated to be the president and CEO when my dad and his cousin retire. Construction has been up and down with the pandemic, and while we've done a good job at keeping our actual field employees on, we've had to cut office staff by 33%, and the people who are left have a bigger workload. In my current job, I'm able to work from home, but found out pretty quickly that my office just didn't work. So my dad told me upon getting hired that I could have as much money as I needed to redo my office at work. My aunt, who was a very heavy smoker, worked in there, and even pandemic notwithstanding, it was basically unusable. So I'm guessing my dad realized this. I asked my dad in a staff meeting if I could use the money for my home office instead, and he said that was fine. All executives get an annual improvement/comfort budget, so my dad said using mine at my house was fine. I ended up assigning several of our field employees to my project, and it turned out awesome, but it wickedly overran my cost estimates. This happens in construction, so not the end of the world. But the issue is the field employees talked, and word got around to include how much I spent. I wasn't aware of this until I ran into the ex-accounts payable girl at a bar last night, and she basically looked like she wanted to rip my face off. called me every name in the book, and even knew the exact amount I'd use to remodel my house for my office. It really hurts my feelings because I didn't do anything the boss didn't want me to do. I even gave some guys work and approved overtime. I feel terrible that she lost her job, but she's really good, so I'm sure she'll be okay. I didn't break any rules, but am I the a-hole? OP has offered the following explanation for why they think that they might be the a-hole. Hi, I might be the a-hole because I spent approved money on personal improvements while we had to lay off people at our family business. I think you're just woefully out of touch with reality, seeing as you continue to justify yourself, even after she had a go at you for losing her job, and you're kinda just rubbing your reckless spending in her face. It just seems so unnecessary to have to remodel your house to be someone that's just working at home. That money could have been used to keep her in her job. No wonder she's so pissed off at you. I think you lack so much empathy for the poor woman here. I just don't know what to say besides you're the a-hole. Now in the comments, Being International 15 says, you're the a-hole. Your company is losing money and firing people, so you take a large amount of cash to redo your office space at home. You are the epitome of corporate greed. Definitely. You're the a-hole. This is outrageously out of touch. My family owns a manufacturing business, and I would never dream of having employees perform functions like this while laying people off for exactly this reason. OP, you gotta do better, man. Your employees do not have the resources you have. Don't flaunt your privilege, man. I'm confused as to why a home office even requires construction, let alone several workers and going over budget. Like, usually the room is there already. I'm thinking desk, chair, computer. What was the job? Oh, it's because OP wanted a fancier office. Even if you go for fancier, like ergonomic and with lots of controls, business desk, chair, filing cabinets, it still won't hit 5K and won't require construction. It sounds like OP used a failing business as a cash cow for major redecorations at their house. You're the a-hole. You spent way too much on a home office and only got to because you're daddy's special baby girl. While everyone else got laid off, you get a fancy office in your house. Not your work office, a home office. That money would have been better spent in ways to help employees and drive business so they could keep their jobs. But daddy's little baby had to have everything. I doubt any other executives would be allowed to use their meager improvement budgets on their homes, and they sure wouldn't be allowed to go over budget.